Sponsored by McCams, getting you back on two wheels when it wasn't your fault.
Look at all these FTRs. It's amazing. I mentioned I like them, and Indian bought me tons to play with, which makes me a very happy boy. Obviously, we've been playing a lot with the Indian FTR this year. Last year, we had a lot of fun on it. Indian have actually now given us the full range to go and try every single FTR in the range and see how they compare and what different things they can get out of the same bike. So right at the far end, we've got the Indian FTR 1200 base model. That's what I made the Hooligan bike out of, that you've hopefully been following on our YouTube channel. Moving up from that, we've got this one here, which I'm really excited about. This is the FTR Rally. So it's similar to the base, but with spoked wheels, slightly knobbly Pirelli tyres, and the little fly screen, higher bars and a higher seat. So it's a bit more off-road ergonomics. It's not meant to be a full-on off-road bike. That's not going to stop us taking it off-road, but it's their sort of gravel roads bike. Then we've got the shiny ultimate road bike. We've got the FTR 1200 S. That's the one that, again, is supposed to be the ultimate road bike. We took it off-road last year, but we don't worry about that. So this one's got lean sensitive traction control. It's got the fully adjustable suspension. It's got the LCD touchscreen dash, you might remember from the last video. So that's got all the trick road bits and is a fabulous high-spec road bike. So we're gonna take that somewhere fast and sticky and good tarmac tomorrow. And then right at the top end, looking very out of place in the mud, we've got the FTR 1200 Carbon. That's the sort of exclusive limited edition one, covered in carbon bits and with the paint scheme that makes it look like the 750 race bike. So that one's a pretty special looking bike. Also notice it's got some cheeky Akropovich pipes, so hopefully it's gonna sound a bit fruitier too. We've got a massive off-road site to play in today, and we've got some beautiful roads to take on tomorrow. So we're gonna get every single one of these, smoking tires and having some fun. See what the difference is. So this is the FTR 1200 Rally. It is brilliant fun. It's not actually hugely different to the FTR 1200 base. It's the same kind of bike underneath, but with spoked wheels. It's got the Pirelli Scorpion Rally semi-off-road tyres, and it's got some higher handlebars as well. Give you a bit of a better riding position when you're standing up. Now, Indian aren't pitching this as an off-road bike or a full-on adventure bike. It's just more I guess you'd call it a gravel bike. You know, it's an FTR with its kind of gravel tackling ability enhanced slightly. Bit of a comfier position if you're standing up riding off-road for a while. And the same bonkers engine that makes me like playing on the FTR so much. It's actually got a little wind deflector on the front as well, a little sort of bikini cowl screen thing, which is kind of cool, and it gives you a little bit more wind protection. Yeah, I wonder if we can get up there. Let's see what this off-road is like. Woo! Okay. So, if you do want to do stupid things on it, it will take it. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to nip down here, see if I can find some slightly gnarlier bits of off-road to play in. Because although it's not pitched as a wild off-road adventure bike, I think you can do more than you would reckon on this. But being the base model, it just has the nice simple round speedo, no traction control. It has ABS, but as you might see if you can see the dash, I have disabled the ABS because I wanted to do skids. But it's actually surprisingly well-mannered off-road. It sure isn't the plushest and squishiest comfy off-road bike, but It's super slippery here today, and it's actually nice enough that you're not frightened to take on a slippery trail. It doesn't feel like it's going to keep tipping over. It does start washing the front a bit if you try and push it through the muddy turns, but in fairness, the tyres are as much affecting that as anything else. These are the sort of street bias version of the Scorpion Rally, so they're not big knobblies, but they just got kind of closer together tread blocks. Whee! It does do that very well. Right, let's tackle something a bit gnarlier. Whee! And as soon as you stand up, actually, those handlebars definitely make life a little bit easier. You can kind of tower over the bike a bit more, and you're not feeling like you're crouched over reaching for the bars. Oh, it's a bit overgrown in here. with a bike as kind of good looking and cruisery as the FTR, it seems a little bit wrong to be in here. Look at that. It's like a swamp forest. So the only thing you do have to be a little bit careful off-road, there is no big sump guard on this, so you have got to be a bit cautious not to whack anything into the bottom of the engine. Have a leaf. But apart from that, it's an absolute blast. You can rip it around these gravel roads. It feels kind of just as good riding it sat down as it does riding stood up, which I have to say I quite like. It's quite enjoyable, sort of bombing around sat down. The seat's slightly taller on this one. It's the comfort seat, which then again gives you a little bit more cushioning when you're razzing along these bumpy gravel tracks. It still does that good FTR trick of kind of cruising along, rumbity bumbity, low RPM, posing around the shop sort of way, and then if you snap the throttle open, it goes bonkers and rips off down the trail without you, which I think is quite a nice little trick. It's nice not to have to sacrifice fun to look cool. Let's see how she jumps. So yesterday we had a lot of fun in the mud on the FTR 1200 Rally. Now we're on the FTR 1200 base model. This is in fact what the Bike World Super Hooligan Project Bike Racing Project thing once started life as. So this is the bottom of the FTR 1200 range, if you can call it that, but to be honest, I absolutely love this one. It's got slightly more basic suspension, it's non-adjustable forks, and the shock's only got rebound adjustment on it. You don't get the big snazzy TFT display or the traction control. You still get cruise control, and to be honest, I really like the massive round speedo in the middle of the handlebars. Maybe I'm getting old and I like old looking things, but I like the analog speedo. And while it may not have the traction control or the adjustable suspension, it still has the awesome engine. Still plenty of snap to it. And with this base model all in black, like the project bike was, it's got a real nice stealth look to it. It's quite subtle. It's not peacocking all its shiny colours. It's just a nice flat stealth bike that says, look at me, I'm all engine. Whee! We are now coming up one of my favourite roads, Full of twists, turns and jumps. Whee! No traction control to distract us. It's a big old engine and a pair of handlebars on the top to hang on to. A little bit overexcited on the throttle there. What a road! There's so much fun along here. End of the spectrum, we're on the FTR 1200 Sport, the fancy pants road bike one. It's got the dirt track style tyres still, but it's much more geared towards the asphalt. It's got TFT display, it's got lean sensitive traction control, fully adjustable suspension, and once again, as with every variant of the FTR, it's an engine. It's an engine with wheels. The chassis is beautiful, it handles well, it brakes well, but all of that kind of pales in comparison to what happens when you open the throttle. And it's not in a ballistic, super sports missile type way, it's just an engine that is really willing, and whatever gear you're in, whatever speed you're doing, it's got such an instant response, like a powerful drive that makes you giggle like an idiot. You kind of forget everything else about the bike once you start enjoying the motor. You don't really notice that it's a good looking bike and the brakes are good and the suspension's good. Just meh. Just too busy enjoying that engine. It's nice at last to get some dry roads on the FTR, because it means that it's a nice chance to really sample the chassis, see what it does when you actually lean it over in a turn. Especially on these back roads, it's actually quite stiff. A few times I've sort of hit potholes and been surprised how firm the suspension really is. But that means when you get onto a faster road, so 6th gear there, instant drive. I love it. Just makes it a great engine for a road ride. It'll punch out of any corner without mucking around changing up and down gears. You can kind of be lazy and fall asleep and just cruise along, and then suddenly go, oh, I want to pass that car. Crack open the gas and off she goes. It's definitely a deceptive bike. You've got to keep one eye on the speedo when you're cruising, because it's such a low revving engine, and like I said, so much torque, you sort of creep up to speeds that you didn't actually mean to be doing, and the bike just happily sits there. The wind blast is the only clue really that you've snuck above the speed limit. Alright, let's see what it corners like. Slightly damp road. There's a drop on its side, it doesn't want to go straight on, it's very neutral, which for a bike of this size and this length and this sort of cruisery appearance, it holds the line very nicely. So now we are on the FTR 1200 Carbon, which is an FTR in a pretty dress with some posh silencers on it. So we got carbon fibre bodywork. It has got the kind of Indian red burgundy frame and the styling to make it look like the FTR 750 race bike that we saw back at the Indian HQ the other month. Cheeky little bit more note from the exhaust from the Aki. Again, not mega loud, but I'm sure a little bit of silencer fettling could soon open up a bit more fruit if that was what you were after. And it's not a limited edition as such, this bike, but they only brought in 35 this year to the UK, which sounds pretty limited by my mind. So they will be making more. It's not a limited edition, but it's definitely an exclusive bike. There's not many left of this year's run, so if you want one, be quick. And it does look bloody good in the carbon. If you do buy an Indian, I hope for your sake that it doesn't rain on you every time you get it out of the garage. Because while they work well in the rain, every single time I ride one, it seems to rain. Although that might be more to do with where I live than the bike itself. Let's have a little luggy test. There we go. 30 mile an hour, 6th gear, 1700 RPM. Actually purrs along really well there. I think if you're not fully into going flat out and riding sports bikes, I think as a road bike you really can't go wrong with one of these. They're so nice to ride, fantastic engine, and they're great fun to ride at 75%, to ride at a kind of, yeah, sensible road speed. You don't have to be hammering the brakes and winding the throttle wide open out of every corner. They're just a nice bike to cruise along a road and enjoy the ride on. And if you want to make a few passes to get past a bit of traffic, you can wind open the gas. And the FTR responds very willingly. Good bike. Fun bike. Pretty carbon fibre bike. It's got the legs to do some properly fast track work if you wanted to. It's got the ability to take you off and charge down gravel roads and, yeah, get away from the tarmac as well. And it's got the ability to do flat out drag strip runs. It's not the best bike in the world for any of those things, but it's way more than just a good looking street bike with a powerful engine. It's got something about it that everything it turns its hand at, it makes it good fun. And that, I think, is important. There are a lot of bikes that fall into the sort of good-looking, cruisery, cafe racery, hipster bike category. That is a sector at the moment that's packed full of options, and you're spoiled for choice. But I think what's important about the FTR is it doesn't just hang all its success on being a good-looking bike. It's actually nice to ride. It's got a well-developed chassis that handles well but isn't twitchy, that holds the line nicely but doesn't snap across onto the side of the tyre when you don't want it to. It's built to be a nice road bike, a nice cruiser road bike, and it has a brilliant engine that makes you smile every time you open the throttle. It's more than just a fashionable bit of metal and plastic to stick in your garage. It's got bags of character. An absolute lunatic of an engine. Whee! So the last couple of days have been an FTR fest, indulgence of Indians. We've had all of them. We had a million FTRs to play on, and if you didn't like FTRs before this, I can only apologise, but we have had a fantastic couple of days playing with these bikes. As I said at the beginning, we've ridden the range from the base right the way through to Captain Bling Pants, the Indian FTR Carbon. We had a wicked time yesterday riding off-road. We got properly soaked, covered in mud. I managed to roost every bit of camera equipment that Bikeboard had with us, made me very happy. And that FTR Rally was a right hoot to ride. No, it's not an adventure bike. It's not a fully converted off-road bike. It's an FTR with some spoke wheels and some knobbly tyres and some higher handlebars. Riding it again on the road today, it's quite interesting really, because it's made it a bit more of a practical all-comers bike. You know, the higher bars, a little bit of luggage in the saddlebag, it suddenly makes the FTR that little bit more usable, dare I say practical. Then we've got the S and of course the Carbon. Now they're the kind of cream of the FTR crop. Riding them was brilliant fun. You've got the traction control, which means you can lean on that, especially in these minging conditions you've got. You can slide the tyre with a bit more confidence that if it goes too far, the bike's going to catch it. The Carbon as well, for me, I just can't stop looking at it. It does look exactly like the FTR 750 race bike, which makes me very, very happy. And I have to admit, if I was going to pick one out of the range, it'd be the Carbon, purely based shallow on looks. I have no apologise for that. I just think the thing looks awesome. Is it miles different to ride than the base? No, it's not. The one thing that I've noticed riding all these bikes, and they're all subtly different in their own way, is that it doesn't actually matter what you do to an FTR, whether you cover it in carbon, whether you stick big handlebars on it, the engine dominates everything. And that really, for me, is what these bikes are about. That 1200cc V-twin is just a big, angry ball of power and noise. And I don't really care what shape it is. I can have any one of them, as long as it's got that engine, be a happy man. If you've not had a chance to go and test ride one, do it. I guarantee you'll get off it laughing like an idiot. I never get bored of that. So I'm off now to go and finish the FTR Hooligan race bike, the Bikeboard special bike. We've got our first proper test of that bike this weekend. Super excited, teensy bit nervous, but riding all these has made me really, really happy to be doing skids on an Indian.